Welcome to St. Paul, Minnesota. Today, we are here at the Minnesota State Capitol building. We are going to be investigating the history that we've all been given behind this location, behind this building. Today, we are going to show that this structure was not originally created to be the Minnesota State Capitol building, where it was not intended to be a building to rule over us, where in my opinion, this building was created for all of us, and it has since been taken over. We will be investigating the narrative that we are all given since day one, and much, much more. We are given the same narrative worldwide, a very clear example showing that the same source generated all of these buildings' narratives, where we are told that this is the third building to serve this purpose. Multiple buildings on the same site. We have seen this so many times over the first 75 episodes. It's in nearly every single old world building's narrative. Not only that, but we are also told that the population boomed in 1858, which we know why. We have covered this in episode 52. We know where all of these people came from. Massive orphan operations. Now, despite efforts to make the Capitol fire resistant, it was of course destroyed by fire 3 years after they supposedly expanded the building. When we know here that this building that we see today is the original building, this story is just that. It's a story. It is a coded message to show which buildings, which structures are from the previous civilization. We know that this fire nod may also be the locations of where the catacombs are located. So be sure to keep this in mind for the future as we continue to dig. While legislators met in the evening, fire broke out in the dome of the Capitol and quickly spread. There were, of course, no deaths, but efforts to save the building failed when it was replaced on the exact same site just 2 years later. 2 years, and they were able to clean up the old one. They were able to get a team together, draw up the designs, get all the materials to the site, and construct the new Capitol building with zero flaws and not a single power tool. Do you understand at this point how we have all been lied to? If anyone needs an even deeper understanding of what this project would require, episode 41 will definitely help anybody out after this. 2 years to clean up the one that supposedly burned down mysteriously. Nobody ever knows how it started. Just another palace up in flames from the local fire ghost that was playing with matches in the basement, where there was an empty kitchen fire or a faulty light switch. The narrative forgets to give us details that are extremely important. Why would we not be told the exact cause of a fire that burns down a state capitol building? You'd think that would be in the story. We very rarely ever hear how the fire started. Yet there was so many fires, supposedly. So 2 years, clean up the first one and knock out the second one. And the second one is no shed. It is a 3-story Romanesque masonry building built on the exact same site as the first Capitol building, where I do believe that these buildings that they show in the photos, these buildings, they did exist. They were here. I just don't believe that they were actually the state capitol buildings. I think they were also located in different areas of the city. And to get rid of them, they throw them into the narrative, exactly how you've seen today. Designed the new building in the shape of a Greek cross, with it featuring a foundation of cut stone and walls of red brick with sandstone trim. Each wing measuring 150 feet in length. All of this was planned out and completed in less than 2 years. And I just couldn't stop there. I have seen this fire narrative so many times that I have to find more on it. We even have a playlist called The Fire Games, Flames, where we have 3 episodes so far covering 5 cities, exposing all of these fire narratives in all of these old world buildings, where they tell us that the first Capitol building went up in flames, destroying the building. But the building supposedly held $2 million in the safe, all remaining intact, of course. And the large collection of historic newspapers kept in the Minnesota Historical Society's vault also survived. No issues, of course, there. Fire burns a building down, but the newspapers are just fine. Very believable. And the estimated losses were only $2,000. Yet the state's library, of course, suffered the greatest loss. The fire consumed more than 11,000 of their 12,580 books, almost all of them gone. So all the books are burned, but the newspapers are fine, and the building's gone. So we can now see another thing that was gone in the old world building. All of the old world books. Are you seeing clearer and clearer by the episode? With many rare volumes. So we have a very picky fire and only wanted to destroy rare books in the old world building. When it goes on to say the cause of the fire sparked much speculation. Some thought that it began as a result of a gas explosion, with no gas lights located where the fire started. This theory proved unlikely. Where I'm just gonna skip to the end because this is all a massive lie. The end says, officials, of course, never solved the mystery. I believe it is time for the whole world to see through these narratives' lies. They could not be any clearer in showing us that they deliberately destroyed records of the past and the previous civilization's buildings. So what happened to the second Capitol building? Why do we have a third building here now? Well, to prove my point that these buildings did exist, just not for the purpose that we are told. Shortly after it opened, the building supposedly became overcrowded because they were horrible at planning, and they tell us there was a lack of adequate fireproofing. Completed in 1893 and knock it down in 1937. Another old world building gone. And we are presented the one that we have today, when this one was always there, in my opinion. I believe they just moved over to it in 1905 officially, and used the other building as storage and a parking lot. Exactly like they tell us. Oh, and you thought that was all? You thought I was done? Come on. We all know there's more. So let's go deeper. Let's go on their website and scroll down. It's time for everybody in the world to understand how deep this lie goes. How you sat in those classrooms for years as a child and were knowingly told massive lies every single day. How your family sits in those same classrooms today when they told us about the fire in 1881, but left out something massive. So I went and found it during repairs, where we know what happened on April 16th during repairs in Denmark. We have seen how restoration 100% means destruction. We know this here. During repairs conducted a few days before the Minnesota Constitutional Convention in July 1857, a fire started. There was little damage to the building, but the fire, of course, consumed some of the Minnesota Historical Society's collections stored there. And of course, on March 1st, 1881, like we showed earlier, another fire broke out, and efforts to save the building failed. And we're not even close to being done today. Welcome to episode 76 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day, and if you're new, welcome. And I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to flatearthdave.com. You can check out his app. I'll put the link in the description, and you can use my referral code, MLB. He also has my lunch break on the homeschool section of the app, which is really cool. Thank you to Rebecca K, Don Gaston, Christopher Arietta, The Lady Lacey Show, David and Sherry Ferguson, Edwin Johnson, Chuck Templeton, Joy Lee, PNR, Stephanie Nolan, The Burlesons, Suez KC, Dan Woodle, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Edward and Brianna, Jacob Law, Jim Ribley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glascock, Tim Rack, PKTFnews.org, Regna Saturna, Dendries NL, Juana Mesher, Sirius Feline, G Power, Natalie Shippenoff, TheGoldenTeacher.co, Amberson EMC, HK Sue, Isaac Wright, Melissa Edgar, Biggles, Clayton Lamar, Ultimus Maximus, Noble Task Homestead, John Adams, Easy and Whitney, Roberts O'Zolins, Sarah Fenton, The Crypto Schizo, Rick Tapkey, Coat C, Paraplegic Bear, Jetski Chuck, The Arnolds, 3D6.Space, Attila Power, VKH Bonner, Rod James, Bell's Clarions for God, Forbidden Gecko Love, Justin Grobner Grubb, Leah Strong, Peter Battani, Dakota Dunn, Eric Martinez, Ivan Apoctoli, Jim Bro, Edwin Rice, Helmut, Charles Kruger, Glenn Gunderson, Pacific Crafted, HaggardT-shirts.com, Meta, Jason Hochberg, Marie C, ValleyMedicinals.com, Old World Exploration, Kyle Logan, Bobo, ThePhoenixArt.com, WakeandBakeClothing.com, David and Irene, Michael Dingyu, Michelle Wilson, Patriot Armory, Tom O'Hara, Wayne T, Michael D. Connor, Hen Yardies, William Royal, C3SCOB, Ancient Tallow, Jeffrey Temple, Lil Miss, Lisa Boutwell, Luis Capice, SonyaDane.com, Thad Luop, James Alt, Buxui, Code Dren, Big Pasty, James Kirk, Jason Prest, Suki Warrior, We the People, Dan McGee, Vince Moreno, Roz Matthews, Shibba Shaba in the Darkness. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a lot. Staying in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we have the Basilica of St Mary, where we are 2 for 2 today. And it's not hard to be 2 for 2 when you know exactly what you're looking for. The Basilica of St Mary, of course, was not the first church on this exact same site. We are told that this one replaced a previous church. Now, this one is very interesting because they tell us that this second church was the first basilica in the United States in 1926. And do we all remember when they found gold inside of one of the old world buildings and needed to do restoration work right after they found it in episode 57? Well, here we go again. Restoring the paint and gold leaf found throughout the structure. When in 2020, the basilica received minor fire damage during the rioting and arson from the protesters, being splashed with flammable liquid and burned. The architect being Emmanuel Lewis, where the church was done in 1914, and they take out the character 3 years later, where they say he died in 1917. But this guy is also connected to the Cathedral of St. Paul, being pinned as the architect for this one as well, where we are now 3 for 3 today, holding a narrative of previous cathedrals. The first church was a small log cabin, they tell us. This was our civilization's attempt at a cathedral in 1841. Look at the detail. It's truly breathtaking. Look at the support beams for that crooked fence. The second church building had 3 stories and got an upgrade, with the church itself being on the 2nd floor. Again, both the first and the second churches were just too small. So they settled on a palace. He starts plans for the 3rd cathedral. Of course he does. Get that going in 1853. Why wait? 4 years and it's all wrapped up. Can you believe? No power tools and no shipping companies. You have dirt roads. There's no highways. You would have thought that would have only taken them a few months. What was the holdup for Donkeys Incorporated? I'm not used to seeing them work so slow in the 1800s. Oh, Here it is. They were delayed by the Panic of 1857. No wonder it took them so long. The third one, that took forever, 4 years, done in 1858. A whole 4 years with that dang panic in the way. Built of stone, measuring 175 feet long, 100 feet wide, but no ornamentation to cut costs, of course. And they just end the story there. And they start talking about the one that's there today. So let's go find it. Not enough space again. Imagine doing this over and over and over. Okay, I'm moving into a new house. I'm not really, but just imagine. Moving into a new house, building the whole thing, and it's done. Even though we just barely scraped by financially. Removing all architectural ornaments from the original design. We just barely got it done. Great job, everybody. Great job. But we have some bad news. Not enough space. So go build me a new one. It's just ridiculous. This story is so crazy. And we gotta make sure that new one just lasts forever. And remember, we don't have any money. So just figure it out. This story is ridiculous. But good thing they got the new one done 1 week early. Of course they did. And like we said earlier, the architect is gone. Suddenly. And then the archbishop is gone the next year. And then knocking down this old world masterpiece in order to make way for the cathedral. Because there was just no land available 120 years ago. And they could afford to just knock down mansions with their budget of basically nothing. Sir, we don't have the funds for ornamentation. Can't we just build the basilica right next to this mansion? There's plenty of space. No, Emmanuel, it must be right there, where this palace sits before us. It's the land that we need for this project. This has gotta be one of the worst narratives that the mainstream narrative has ever come up with to this point. I am 100% sure that a 7-year-old watching this could see that the narrative that we've all been told for decades is complete nonsense. Now, anyone under 18, definitely don't watch this next part. 18 and older, here we go. I'm going to show how this group treats the old world structures today and what they turn them into. So no kids for this part. The Farmer and Mechanics Savings Bank. We are made to believe that this building was built between 1891 and 1893, 2 years, with no power tools, we are told. That it formerly served as the headquarters of Farmers and Mechanics Savings Bank. But now this building has been turned into an home to the downtown strip club. And here you can see it in 1905, where you could walk around the whole building. And now they have this piece of garbage that our civilization, the evolved and advanced group, have built, connected to it. And like I've said before, once you find one, you will normally find a lot more old world buildings right next to each other. So right here in the shot, you can see the green roof. Can switch angles here. And this is another old world building that was found. Let's drop this guy down and take a look for a second. And before we go on, I want to say thank you to all of our badge members, all of our Patreons, and every single subscriber. You guys are all awesome and helping grow this channel every single week. And next week, we have the 1-hour episode coming. So get ready for that. And hit that bell if you want to make sure you get notified when it first comes out. A new episode comes out every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're also over on X, Rumble, TikTok, and Instagram. And after doing the challenge, where we got 100,000 subscribers, and then you guys get an hour-long episode, I want you to comment below and let me know what you think the next challenge should be. I also want to let you all know there's a new documentary out called Old World Order. You can check it out over on Rumble on the Stu Peters Network. It's a great documentary on the old world. I want to say thanks to Sean Hibbler for letting me be in it. It was a lot of fun. So the bank and the strip club, they get that other one. And then the courthouse and the city hall get this one. It's very interesting, where they just can't help themselves. We are told yet again today, all in the same area, that this building replaced an earlier city hall. So who are they kidding at this point? And not only did it replace an earlier city hall, but they also tell us that it replaced an earlier courthouse. This is amazing. Having the world's largest four-phase chiming clock. So this is not your average project. 24-foot clocks, a 345-foot tower, built on rose granite. And they've already got their hands on it, of course, changing its original roof and saying it was leaking, switching it to copper, and restoration of certain historic spaces has been completed. And just for fun, I want to see what's in the backyard. It is cool to see the old world sitting right in the middle of where we live today. You can clearly see the difference between the old world's work and our basic box style today. The old world is worldwide. It's in every single one of our cities, all over the world, with more and more of us seeing this now, and no longer just walking past them with a blind eye. We are all coming together, seeing through the nonsense and never turning back. Because as we always say, and it is so true, once you know the truth, once you see the lies that we have been force-fed since day one, you will never go back.